Forward. Chapter 1. Disconnected mentality. Chapter 2. Dread of being declined. Chapter 3. Not being compatible. Chapter 4. Ways to connect. Wrapping up. Forward. Particular issues may prevent you from easily forging fresh connections and intensifying your existing ones, holding you in a ceaseless state of disconnection. Here are a few of the most basic roadblocks that take you out of alignment with affection. Law of attraction, affection roadblocks. Removing the setbacks in love. Chapter 1. Disconnected mentality. The wrong mindset. A belief in detachment becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Such a fragmented mind breeds behaviors that reward a disunited lifestyle. Rather than lovingly reaching out to individuals, you timidly keep back. Rather than offering somebody a hug, you settle for handshaking. Rather than actively starting a conversation, you passively wait for the other individual to make the opening move. It's crucial to realize that the notion that everybody is a totally single being from you is an unprovable supposition. When you're sleeping and having a dream, do you presume that the other dream personas are separate and distinct? You likely do make that supposition while sleeping, however when you wake, you know it isn't genuine. Those dream personas are simply projections of your brain. They live completely inside you, not separate from you. Now what if you bore that same mentality into your waking reality? There's no formula cast in stone that demands that you assume everybody is apart from you. Something sort of magical occurs once you presuppose that everybody else is a part of you, simply like one of your own dream personas. The beginning thing you recognize is that there are no strangers. There are no trivial individuals in your reality. Since everybody is a part of you, everybody has something to instruct you on. Enjoying another individual becomes the same matter as enjoying a part of yourself. As all parts of you merit of affection, no human is undeserving of affection either. Loving others and loving yourself is in the final analysis the precise same thing. In my early adult years, I had a chance meeting with a curious person. During one of our opening conversations, I discovered myself opening up to her really well. I had no clue why, but I simply felt totally safe with her, and I believed in her implicitly. We got to be really close friends very fast, and I am talking literally. I'd never went through such a deep and speedy bonding with another individual previously. Over the following numerous weeks, I observed that this woman was able to found a similar level of compatibility with almost everybody she ran across. Complete strangers would start telling her their life history inside the first 10 minutes of conversation. I inquired how this was happening. And she explained that it was the final result of a special mentality she had about individuals. She stated she knew at heart that we're all pieces of the same whole. She didn't have to produce fresh connections with individuals. She'd merely tap into the connection she trusted was already there. Her mentality brought her into solid alignment with affection as she regarded everybody as being fondly connected to her. This was a totally alien idea to me. I steadfastly trusted we were all single persons. Producing a true connection with somebody called for time, common interests, personal rapport, and a bit of luck. Occasionally individuals connected, occasionally they didn't. All the same, I couldn't deny this woman's outcomes. Finally, I was able to loosen up my disbelief, and I tried to think that I was already connected to everybody else. I can't say it was simple to accomplish this consistently, but the more I thought it, the truer it became. Emotionally, I got to be a more loving individual. I started making new acquaintances much more easily, and my social life hit a new level. Occasionally when I'd meet individuals for the first time, I recognized immediately we'd become great friends. Virtually unconsciously, I started interacting with individuals I'd just met as though we'd been acquaintances for a long time, and I observed they'd frequently respond in a similar way. You are able to connect with individuals really easily by tuning in to the connection that already exists. Rather than being forced to break the ice with somebody, assume that there's no ice. On some tier, you're already affiliated. As you get more lined up with this perspective, you might even discover that total strangers will approach you to strike up a conversation. When you feel fondly connected to other people, you'll frequently see other people caring for you the same way. This is a skill you are able to formulate with patience and practice. You don't need to blindly accept the doctrine behind this idea in order to benefit from it. You are able to apply it simply by utilizing your imagination. The next time you're with a group of individuals, imagine that each individual you meet is already inherently linked up to you. Presume the bond of affection is already there, and notice what occurs. Chapter 2. Dread of being declined. Stave off fear. Such dread produces feelings of vacancy, aloneness, and reclusiveness, sapping you of the favorable want to connect with other people and pushing you out of alignment with affection. Is there anything inherently grievous about walking up to a different individual and stating, "Hello, my name is Joe. You look like somebody I have not met previously. What is your name?" At the start, the other individual might indeed react like you're attempting to sell them something, however, they'll frequently give you the benefit of the doubt and let the conversation carry on. The worst case scenario is that nothing occurs. The most beneficial case is that you make a fascinating fresh life acquaintance. How many times can you take chances on something like that? Whenever you open your heart and communicate with affection, you're sure to meet other people who respond in a similar way. The irony in this matter is that when you're feeling disconnected from something, connecting with individuals is the cure. If you spend more time with favorable, cheerful, interesting individuals, it's unlikely you'll be feeling blue in the first place. Really, your disconnection from others is a sign that you have unplugged from the most beneficial parts of yourself. Chapter 3. Not being compatible. Similarities. A shared way of living, shared values, and a like disposition grease the wheels of communicating, making it simpler to forge fresh connections and intensify existing ones. When you wish to enrich your living with fresh connections, it's sensible to seek out individuals with whom you are well matched, notably in terms of characters, values, and mental attitude. Have you ever discovered yourself nodding along while somebody else is speaking, even though you take issue with everything they're talking about? You understand that if you decide to sound off and express your real opinion, it will only spark off a senseless argument. This is a typical experience when we communicate with individuals whose values are mismatched with ours. If basic rapport is absent, communicating becomes hard, misinterpretations increase, and it's hard to connect with reality and affection. As you develop more and more, your compatibility preferences will certainly change. This is nobody's fault. Let yourself let go of any group, individual, job, or activity that no longer sits well with you, and you'll shortly draw in more well-matched opportunities into your life. If you feel it's time to progress, break away with love. Take your association from the level of directly interacting and make it a cherished memory. Then file away that memory and gear up for something different. The procedure of letting go may be really hard, but it's a crucial part of Personal development. When you neglect to give up incompatibilities in your life, you settle for mere permissiveness and prevent compatible fresh associations from taking shape. Furthermore, you produce an even greater disconnection inside yourself. Permissiveness isn't an act of affection, it's opposition to affection. Something really powerful happens when you fill up your life with compatible associations. First of all, you'll feel fondly supported and encouraged to convey your ideas genuinely. Secondly, you'll find it simpler to associate with individuals who'd otherwise be entirely incompatible with you, as you know you've that stable foundation to return to. For instance, Christ might have communicated with individuals who held really different values from his, however he spent gobs of time with the 12 apostles who defended and believed in him. Maybe Judas wasn't such a dandy friend, but 11 out of 12 isn't bad. How would you feel if you had 12 loyal friends who addressed you as Lord and Master and saw you as their teacher and Redeemer? Do you believe it would empower you to branch out and connect with less concern and hesitancy? Do you believe it would help you remain lined up with affection? Don't hold back till loving connections to knock on your door. Get out and consciously produce them. Chapter 4. Ways to connect. Synopsis. If you feel socially clumsy and have a difficult time connecting with others, the issue might simply be a lack of experience. Like any other acquired ability, great communicating skills take practice to develop. With practice, you'll become more comfortable in an assortment of social situations, and when you get comfortable, you'll express yourself naturally. Some help. Feeling relaxed is the basis of effective communication. When you feel entirely comfortable with whom you are, your self-importance recedes into the backdrop. You aren't obsessed with thinking of how you appear, how you sound, or what other people might think of you. You're centered on the matters you're talking about and the individuals you're communicating with. In order to formulate your social skills, you have to nurture the circumstances that let your instinctive communication style emerge. Among the best ways to do so is to start with the most compatible people you may find. Build up your skills inside that group, and then use your connections there to extend into other areas where you aren't as easy. For instance, a young man who's timid about speaking to ladies might observe that he communicates naturally with other players in a net game. To establish experience in associating with women, he may center on getting to know a few of the females in the game, even if they're thousands of miles away. From there, intensify some of those friendships with moving to email and calls. When he is comfy with those associations, he might think about joining a local gaming club and associate with women in person. By beginning with a well-matched base and working to build your connections, you can better your social skills hugely. Here's a really easy exercise that will heighten your power to connect. Consider an individual you already know and love. If you can't come up with anybody, then consider somebody you admire or regard. Envision that person and then decide to send affection to that individual. Imagine your affection as favorable energy flowing out of you. Use the connection that already exists between you. Realize that you're both part of the same whole. Hold that idea for a minute and observe that it feels great. Now attempt this. Think of a routine object for which you've no particular feelings, like a pencil. Pick something within reach and grasp it. Consider it and tune into the intangible connection that already exists between you and this thing. Think that this thing is a part of you. Send your affection energy towards that thing and state to it, "I love you, and you're pretty." This might seem a bit unusual, but note that it still feels great. If you can love an average thing, what else may you be able to love? Really, you can love utterly anything. Affection isn't an accident. The point is to prompt you to acquire a position that makes it simpler to give and receive affection. It's simpler to recognize affection as something that already exists rather than presuming you must produce it from scratch. Among the simplest ways to fondly connect with others is to share something with them. Partake in a conversation, experiences, stories, laughs, and a meal. Life is filled with chances to share intriguing moments with folks. Don't be afraid to take the first. Occasionally, if you offer a lunch invitation, the other individual won't go. Don't let that stop you. Merely make the same offer to somebody else, and soon you'll discover an individual who welcomes your friendly advances. A popular sort of sharing is to engulf yourself in an activity with another individual, like going on a date, to a party, or on a holiday together. This may produce lasting memories that help solidify the connection. Sharing establishes trust, and trust produces more substantial bonds. Use a direct approach. This technique calls for a little bravery, however when it works, it tends to work exceedingly well. The direct approach implies verbally acknowledging your feelings of affection for another individual. During a conversation, merely make a direct statement like, you're a truly great friend. Unless there's some sort of fundamental ill will between the two of you, the other individual will nearly always reply in a similar way. After venting such feelings, you'll likely sense that your association has achieved a new level. If you don't feel easy with being excessively gooey, you can always fall back on something more subtle. Even a handshake and a true smile is a way to recognize your connection. A different way to fondly connect with other people is to express true admiration for them. Praise the other individual for a recent achievement. Notice a unique gift or skill you like, or merely share a little detail that moves you. Do this only if you really are moved. Never provide insincere praise in an attempt to pull strings. The last connection method is to feel thankful for the other individual. Occasionally, it's simplest to tap into those feelings by thinking what your life may be like without him or her. What would you miss if this individual was gone forever? You can likewise apply appreciation on a larger scale. What about your loved ones, community, nation, or earth makes you feel thankful? What would you lose if they were gone? When you feel thankful for your community, you'll discover it much easier to associate with other residents, as this is a way of effectively observing the association that already exists. Wrapping up. Affection is the principle that enables you to increasingly find your real self. You achieve this by originating connections with other people and then communicating to explore those bonds. The more associated you become with the existence around you, the better your alignment with affection. The belief that you're totally separate from everybody else is simply an illusion. Consider your relationships as outside projections of the true you, and you'll recognize that the aim of each relationship is to show you how to love yourself from the inside out. If you communicate with another individual, truly you're researching the depths of your own consciousness, as that's where all your relationships live. When you learn to love everybody and everything, you get aligned with your real self. There's no true difference between loving other people and loving yourself, the two are inseparable.